Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. So, we're getting closer and closer to my predictions all the time. One of the key features of the last 2 years has, of course, been the word accumulation. We are currently at the point where it's getting hot in the kitchen. I don't know if that's a saying or phrase. I feel like it is. Simply because what we're currently witnessing is very odd. And I know I'm not the only one who's seeing it as well. We've had indication and news for years now that institutions have actually, wink, been in the cryptocurrency space since at least 2014, even though they told us that they were not. And to see them actively in the market now is a little weird to me, simply because, once again, a large number of institutions told us that they were not in it because Bitcoin was X, Y, and Z and did not care for what it did. Since the beginning of this year, the trend has shifted dramatically. We're now getting a lot of news. I'm not sure if you've seen it about pension funds, retirement funds, countries around the world who are thinking of allocating portions of their national fund into Bitcoin, their retirement fund. It's a bit of a, it's a weird new world territory that we're entering into. I saw these numbers and I was like, of course, it just makes sense. Since the beginning of this year, we have heard about the Bitcoin ETFs. Got it. And then it kind of whittled down to just two companies that we're mainly hearing about. They are BlackRock and Fidelity. It's mainly because of how much money they have, if we can be completely honest with ourselves. And something fantastically weird has begun to take place. So we first heard that BlackRock and Fidelity and all the other ETF issuers, I think, collectively held around 15,000 Bitcoin. That number then turned to, I think, 33,000, 47,000. Then out of nowhere, it went over, I think, 101,000 Bitcoin. And that's when my alarm bells first started going off, because I was like, these companies accumulated over, this is 9 companies. 9 companies accumulated over 101,000 Bitcoin in, I think this was 3 or 4 weeks at this point. And this is also, don't forget, this is also the time frame where prices were going down because of Grayscale. I assume everyone didn't miss this news. The company Grayscale, who had a Bitcoin trust, it got exchanged into a Bitcoin exchange traded fund. And for some reason, they left their fee very high, and people began to sell off from Grayscale. And we can only assume that those coins were accumulated by the other ETF issuers or whatever was actually going on behind the scenes. We're not rich enough to know. And basically, as the prices began to fall, these companies were buying up even more Bitcoin. I personally said I felt like something fishy was going on, because you don't keep your fee higher than BlackRock and Fidelity to make sure that you're going to lose money. I think it was I think something was going on so that richer people could accumulate massive amounts of Bitcoin at a much lower price. Once the selling abated, slowed down, Bitcoin's price began to really pump a lot higher. And we heard that the 101,000, I think, came to 148,000 or something like that, then 151,000. And then I think we heard that collectively they had over 200,000 Bitcoin between all of the funds. That's when I made another video and I was like, this is all happening way too fast. This is happening over the course of a 5.5-6 week period. I'm like, the inflows per day for these ETFs was around $500 million. They were ranging at one point anywhere from $500 million to like $750 million per day of inflows into these ETFs exclusively. We heard that here we go. We heard that BlackRock alone, this Bitcoin ETF, is the I think first or second best performing ETF ever on the planet. Ever. It had been around for around 6 weeks. It outperformed 99.98 of every other ETF that has ever been issued or that currently exists within the United States of America. They did a survey on 10,000 different ETFs, and I was like, that's insane. The news shifted heavily from the news of the 9 ETF issuers just to 2 companies. And they were BlackRock and Fidelity, the 2 most richly heavy-handed companies within the space. And the news then became that BlackRock and Fidelity alone, just those 2 companies, held over 202,000 Bitcoin, which is absolutely insane for 2 companies to have accumulated that much Bitcoin in such a short amount of time. Other ETF companies began to lower their fees logically, some of them to even 0, like a literal 0%, just to make sure that people would choose them over BlackRock. It lightly worked. Some of them had like a swoop up when it came to the amount of money that was actually flowing in. The last time that we had this news, I want to say it was around 10 days ago. It hasn't been months. It hasn't been years. And this is what's really insane about all of this. It's the quickness of the level of accumulation. It's what I hope that everyone's actually paying attention to, simply because this is going to have a major effect on the price of the cryptocurrency market and Bitcoin over the course of this bull run. We have never been in a situation before where we've had this level of accumulation. Do you need to understand that? And I mean, even more so, the camera does that weird click off thing. This is also within a short period of time. This has not been years. This has been months, 2 and a week, more or less. The news that we got was that BlackRock and Fidelity held collectively 202,000 Bitcoin, which is absolutely insane. And then we got news a couple of days ago that they collectively, those 2 ETFs, just those 2, we're not talking about the whole shebang. The news has been whittled down to just BlackRock and Fidelity. These 2, we had the news that we had was that they hold over 303,000 Bitcoin. Just those 2 companies, 303,000. That's when I said in a video, I was like, if this is what's happening after 7-8 weeks, we are probably going to have news that BlackRock and Fidelity by March, April, May, June, July, August, by August, we are going to hear that BlackRock and Fidelity are holding over 1 million Bitcoin. The news today, right now, is that BlackRock and Fidelity alone, these 2 companies, in about 8.5 weeks, 9 weeks, now have 372,227 Bitcoin worth $23.5 billion. They now officially own more than way more than 1% of all the Bitcoin that's out there. If you've missed the last 800 videos on this channel, have I even made 800? I have no idea. On this channel, the news that we got recently, this was also about 5 or 6 days ago, 21 million Bitcoin, got it. 19.3 million Bitcoin have been mined. It'll take another 115 years, literally 115 years, to mine the remaining, I think is 1.3 million Bitcoin or something like that. The problem is that we just got news from an analytics company that said that they believe, according to their numbers, that 7.8 million Bitcoin are lost and gone forever, according to their metrics, which means that there's not ever going to actually be 21 million Bitcoin for 8 billion people on the planet. It's actually far less than that. So if we do 7.8, round it up to 8, 19, there's maybe around, maybe around 11 million Bitcoin available for 8 billion people on the planet. These 2 companies accumulated 372,227 Bitcoin in 9 weeks. What does that mean? That's 2 months. January, February, March, April, May, June. June is when it should happen. I'm being conservative and saying July, August. These two companies will hold over 1 million Bitcoin during the bull run. We have never had this happen before. It is going to send prices skyrocketing. And here's the best part. Other people are accumulating Bitcoin. So a lot of times the news just focuses on BlackRock and Fidelity. I mean, nearly exclusively BlackRock and Fidelity. What don't forget the other 7 ETF issuers are also accumulating. Like still actively accumulating as well. MicroStrategy just said that they plan on rebuying even more Bitcoin. This will be the 3rd or 4th time this year. And they keep buying between $500 million to $700, $800 million worth of Bitcoin. It's happening every other week now at this point. Don't forget about you and your friends and your family members who are also accumulating tons of Bitcoin. Don't forget about the other rich and wealthy people around the world who are like, all right, I guess we're going to throw 10 million into it. The halving still has not happened. I'm going to say that until we get there. I'm going to say those words until we get there. It's expected, for those of you who missed the video, that this bull run, it's expected that it could last over around 500 to 550 days. If this is what's happened after 2 months, where are we in March 2025? How much Bitcoin do BlackRock and Fidelity have? Oh, also for those of you who missed it, this was a while ago, it was like a month ago. We heard from BlackRock that they're actually looking to accumulate more Bitcoin for themselves. They said that they're trying to work out accumulating more Bitcoin to allocate to other funds that they have, but they also want more Bitcoin for themselves. Keeping in mind, this is just the Bitcoin within the ETFs. These companies and institutions are also holding their own Bitcoin somewhere in mountains and stuff as well. Mountains also being a real thing. We had news years ago that the wealthiest people are actually hiding it in mountains in Switzerland. We don't know where because we're not rich enough. But it's literally, there's a video, I'm sure you can find it. There are layers into getting into this like mountain thing. There are doors behind doors behind doors. And I mean like blast proof doors that go deep into mountains. Right. So, BlackRock and Fidelity alone now own a combined 372,227 Bitcoin. August. Latest August. Right. We will have this conversation again when they go over 400,000 because I feel like it's maybe like 16 hours away at this point. I don't think it's going to take that long. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all have been paying attention. My goodness, this is going to be insane. This is going to be absolutely mind-shattering how insane all of this is going to be. We have never, ever, I'm slamming my hand on my leg. We've never had a situation like this before. Never had a situation like this before. There's going to be no Bitcoin left for anyone. I said that in other videos years ago, and that's when we were getting accumulation news along the lines of like this company just bought 4,000 or 5,000 Bitcoin. The significant of that, also hyper significant, because that means literally millions of people will never ever be able to own the 0.03 Bitcoin. If there's only 11 million Bitcoin really up for grabs, it is now impossible for every millionaire and billionaire, nonetheless normal people, every millionaire and billionaire to ever own an entire Bitcoin. It is mathematically impossible. It is never going to happen. There are going to be tens of thousands of millionaires and billionaires who are going to be fighting over fragments of Bitcoin. They will never be able to own an entire Bitcoin ever. Ever. Even for normal people who, I wouldn't consider anyone normal if they have 100K in their bank account. Those people, even them, if they're lucky enough to get a Bitcoin, they are literally stopping millionaires and billionaires from ever being able to have it. You know what it means for one company, even from MicroStrategy? The company, it's a company. It's not a human being. It is a company. To have over 205,000 Bitcoin, that's Bitcoin taken away from billions of people. Billions of people. Billions. You want to talk about the rich getting richer? You want to talk about the rich preparing? Look at what's going on around you. Why do you think this level of accumulation is happening? You want to talk about people talking, these rich people think that Bitcoin's going to $1 million to $10 million per coin before this decade is over, in the next 5.5 years. You want to talk about a wealth transfer? You want to talk about people becoming absolutely freaking wealthy? 327,000 Bitcoin in 2 months. Two companies. You know, there are thousands of companies who are also buying Bitcoin who aren't publicly telling us, right? How much Bitcoin is actually left. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.